reasons people on the left could dislike us, but there is a much stronger reason those on the right and left and all in between could love us. And that is, we have the only program that will make all people wealthy, including the poor. Our method is end the rule of man. Our tools are the protection-only budget and the prime law. I invite everyone in, liberal Democrats, religious right, all in between, every religion, race, class, the entire non-ruling class, people of all race, creed, and color, business owners, struggling poor and unemployed Americans. The 12 Visions Party is the non-ruling class unifier. The TVP seeks to make everyone rich, including the poor. Everyone who comes into the 12 Visions Party does so with the same drive and purpose, to live a wealthy and prosperous life. That's our universal common denominator. When I say wealthy, I really do mean wealthy. There's no reason to live as most of us do now. The reason we have financially stressed lives is because of the rule of man. When the rule of man subsides, the entire bogus side of government ends. Everything that does not deal with protection ends. With that, computer industry-like unhindered freedom, a great technological revolution will ensue as the world has never seen before. Costs will plunge as buying power soars. Once we all realize and agree that the rule of man is our scourge, then the steps are straightforward. The 12 Visions Party gets rid of the rule of man in two ways. Number one, it's temporary but effective, the protection-only budget. The protection-only budget will save our future from crippling debt and civil unrest. My protection-only budget breaks from rule of man and instead adheres to the prime law of protection, the only valid purpose of government. The protection-only budget limits spending to protection. But what about needed entitlements? What about needed regulatory bureaucracies? I answer those questions throughout 12visionsparty.com. In fact, I provide real answers to our economic and unemployment woes throughout 12visionsparty.com. So spend some time there. That's 12visionsparty.com. Now, the second way to get rid of the rule of man is final, permanent, definitive. And that's the Prime Law Amendment. Now again, see the Prime Law Amendment at tvpnc.org. That's tvpnc.org. When we all understand that the rule of man is society's scourge, then the 12 Visions Party becomes everyone's choice. It'll be all over for the Democrats and Republicans who increasingly rule civilization through rule of man. As I said before, the 12 Visions Party has all the answers. When the 12 Visions Party eradicates the rule of man through the protection-only budget and the Prime Law Amendment, the result will be a great technological revolution, plunging costs, soaring buying power, and wealthy people, everyone, including today's poor. So, what we're about is very simple. Number one, the rule of man is the devastating societal disease. Number two, we eradicate the rule of man through the protection-only budget and the Prime Law Amendment. Number three, all the people get rich, including the poor, in the ensuing great technological revolution. Understanding the 12 Visions Party requires these three simple steps. Step one, grasp that the poison of civilization is the rule of man. Step two, end the rule of man with the protection-only budget and Prime Law Amendment. And step three, watch all the people get rich, even the poor. That's why the TVP platform is entitled Make All People Rich, Including the Poor. It's not hyperbole, it's reality. And that's why the protection-only budget and the prime law amendment, which end the rule of man, are listed in the bylaws as the pillars upon which the TVP rests. Who will be drawn to this new political party? All victims. We will pull from the left as much as from the right. Why? This 12 Visions party pays retribution to all victims, and all people not in the ruling class are victims. Everyone in the non-ruling class is a victim. The poor are victims. The middle class, even wealthy business owners not part of the ruling class, are victims. We're being played against each other by the ruling class. By making us enemies against each other, we don't see the real enemy, those playing God with our lives, the rule of man and its strengthening ruling class. Inner city minorities will find the TVP movement very appealing and beneficial. Country club white Christians will find the same. The 12 Visions Party is going to pull our entire family together, the entire suppressed, non-ruling class. The 12 Visions Party is the real unifier. We're all individuals, and the prime law protects the individual, the smallest of all minorities, the minority of one. As individuals, we all want the same thing, a happy, prosperous, wealthy life for ourselves and for our children and grandchildren. That common denominator is the purpose behind the 12 Visions Party. Aside from the growing and powerful ruling class, the 12 Visions Party is for everyone. Everyone. Where did the 12 Visions Party come from? Remember, I'm an author. I've written several books. 30 years ago, I began discovering a new way of thinking that I named Neothink. For over 30 years, I've researched and developed Neothink. I've written over a dozen books on Neothink. I've founded the Neothink Society with clubhouses spread across the world to teach the materials in my books. You'll see many thousands of testimonials by Googling Neothink or the Neothink Society. The Neothink movement is a strong self-improvement dynamic that has existed for 3 decades. The TVP movement has grown out of the Neothink movement. The TVP movement is a movement to improve our world. The Neothink movement is a movement to improve ourselves. Neothink is a new way of thinking in which one becomes a self-leader and much less dependent on the destructive leaders of our country today. For 30 years I have written long, in-depth books about this new way of thinking that I discovered and named Neothink. Very briefly, Neothink conditions the mind to think for itself, to see what is, and to stop depending on leaders that only create illusions and manipulate the people. Neothink enables people to become sharp self-leaders. That Neothink mentality, that self-leader mentality, applies to all aspects of life, from politics and running our country through self-leadership instead of through powerful leaders, which is the foundation of the 12 Visions Party, to business and running our careers through self-leadership for much greater monetary payoffs, which is the foundation of the Neothink Society. Whereas the TVP corrects our political structure for great prosperity, the Neothink Society corrects your job for great prosperity. The members of the Neothink Society are all readers of my revolutionary books, and those Neothink members really understand self-leadership versus being tricked into living under powerful leaders, living a subservient life under a ruling class, pushed down